Hi everybody, welcome to my first video of 2023. I know I'm really delayed with putting out content. I hope to really dedicate some time to that process, but it is taking time away from billable time. And a lot of you have reached out and continue to reach out and book these calls on my website. Thank you very much. Make sure that you check that out if you haven't already done so. I will pull it up at the end of the video. That being said, this time of year brings up a lot of questions, a lot of people, getting ready or wanting to know if they're ready for tax. And I'm going to just go over what I'm looking at when I do these calls, how to do them yourself, and when to reach out, okay? So the first thing that I want to dive into is the balance sheet. It is something that I pull up constantly. Anytime I touch anybody's books or work with you on a shared screen, it is my go-to. I just want to know what we're looking at. And in the case of the time of year that it is right now, we are looking at 2022. Right? So by now you've done your bank recs, hopefully, and we've kind of confirmed that 2021 ties out to the tax return. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to always pull up 2021, and I don't think this one has any information for 2021. Oh, it does. Okay, so you're going to basically pull up the financials for the prior year, and I would always recommend you do this and not wait till the end of the year, because as you know, Studio dates things in real time. However, if you didn't close 2021 when it was 12/31/2022 and your 2021 was still open, your books did not advance to 2023, okay? Studio allows you to keep 2 periods open, and you're not going to be able to change things in those years. I mean, there's some things you can change, but it does screw up the books. So what that means is when you pull up your 2021 taxes and your 2021 financial statement, you want to know that this $51,981.95 was what was claimed on my business tax return. If it is not, then we want to know why that wasn't so and how much are we off. Sometimes accountants make changes to the books, or even sometimes the way that we might have put things. They switch them around and move things, but ultimately you always want to make sure, is that what they reported? Okay, you're going to keep a copy of this balance sheet and income statement. Income statement is also P&L, profit and loss. Income statement, they're all interchangeable words. Don't let people freak you out when they use those words. But that's what I'm looking at here. Okay, so this balance sheet and income statement, let me put them side by side for you. Yeah, let's do 2021. Okay, so this 2021, basically when we're looking at this balance sheet, I always will review the balance sheet before I ever look at an income statement, because if this balance sheet does not tie out, there is no point in even reviewing the income statement for accuracy, right? We need to first make sure that this ties out. And when I say tie out, this is what I mean. When I pull up the December 31, 2021 bank statement, is that the ending balance? Okay, if it is not, what is causing the difference? Okay, here you can see that this is not a cash basis business. Okay, it is an accrual business. So there are some things that you need to understand when doing tax, and understanding what type of business you are. Are you a cash basis business, or are you an accrual based business? Studio Designer is an accrual based software. That does not mean you can't use it for cash basis. However, it is not as easy as the QuickBooks toggle button, okay, for a very good reason, okay? That toggle button basically is doing it for you, but it also, it's also not the best way to do that, okay? So I like to actually do the journal entry the way that you're supposed to in Studio and in any software that you want to switch from one to the other. So accrual and cash. What cash basis is, there's basically 5 accounts in Studio that affect or are taken into account when converting something to a cash basis. Okay, if you are not a corporation, you're probably not an accrual. Okay, you're probably under a cash basis business. So you want to confirm, it's your duty to confirm that your CPA or tax preparer is in fact doing that adjustment for you. Okay, for everybody I deal with, I do it for them. I pull financials, I have internal versions, and then I have the versions that I send to the CPA. Okay, and what we're talking about when we're talking about cash basis, we're going to, I'm just going to rattle off the accounts that affect that. It is accounts receivable, vendor deposits, inventory if we had it, and I don't have any here, but inventory would be up there. Client deposits, and accounts payable, which I don't have any accounts payable, but that would be one, okay? Those are the only accounts that affect the cash basis conversion. Why? Okay, it's because of the way that the flow of this type of business goes through, okay? Because of the fact that it's project-based, okay? So what cash basis is that you are recognizing income when you receive the cash, regardless of it being really a client deposit. In an accrual based business, when your clients pay you money, let me back up a little bit. When your clients pay you money, it is going to go to your bank account, right? We increase the bank account, and the offset of that is client deposits. Client deposits is in Studio is monies that the clients have paid you for items that have not been invoiced. That includes retainer. That includes funds available, like money that maybe they pay on their account. Okay, give or take. Basically, client deposits is everything that you've received from the client for anything that's not been invoiced. Okay, that is a client deposit. Okay, what happens when we get the client deposits? You can assume that those, items that get approved now can get ordered, and then we are getting ready to order them on PO. And that when you do that, you might pay it from the Amex, and when you pay that to the vendor, it's a vendor deposit. Notice how it has not been recognized as income on this side, okay? Stay with me here. So that is a vendor deposit. Vendor deposits are monies paid to vendors for items that have not been invoiced, okay? And when you click invoice, okay, and you must click invoice when you're done with the project or when you install it. But basically, when you invoice an item, it does not mean that somebody owes money on one side or the other. It basically is the last and final step to fully process that. So when you click invoice on an item in Studio, okay, that's over here, because client deposits and vendor deposits. When you click invoice, that client deposit money goes over here to sales income based on whatever the sales code is for the item you created, okay? And then the money that you paid to the vendor for that now goes to the appropriate cost of sales account based on the sales code of the item, okay? That's what happens when you click invoice. This goes into sales income, vendor deposits goes into cost of sales, and the amount attributable to sales tax goes into sales tax payable. Okay, that's what the system does behind the scenes when you click invoice. So when you invoice something, it is final. So that means you don't change it, you don't revise it, you don't void it. Okay, that's how that works. Okay, if there's ever the need to void something, you will want to make sure that it first has not gone through sales tax. Once it has gone through sales tax, you do not want to void it because you're going to mess up the sales tax reports for that period or for the current period. Okay? So it has gone through sales tax. So how would you do that? There is a process. Okay? I'm saying this because these are the things that come up and these are the reasons that I get calls. Okay? And since it happens to be in the year-end process. So diving back into what are we ready for tax? Okay, you're first wanting to make sure that the last year, which in this case, before we closed out 2022, I wanted to make sure that 2021 tied out, because if it did not and we needed to make any adjustments here, we needed to do that as of 12/31/21 before we can go in 2023. It cannot keep all those periods open. Okay, so once I've confirmed that this is good and final, this is what was claimed on the tax return. If it was not, we document any book to tax difference, but you really want to know why and make it match, because again, this is what you'd be asked to furnish in the event of an audit. This and the bank statements and credit card and loan, okay, and sales tax. So these are the things that you need to know. So once you've done that, you've saved the balance sheet and income statement, the 1099s, and any other kinds of reports and filings. I put all that, and that's done for that tax year. Okay, so now that I'm trying to do this as if it's in real time now. And if we are talking about 2022, okay, this is the income statement. And I think I have the balance sheet. Yep. So this is the balance sheet. So again, I'm going through the motions and making sure that all of these things tie. So if this is the ending balance in the bank statement, I double check. I usually will put a little screenshot of it. Okay, I want to make sure that these are accurate numbers. Estimated federal tax payments. Okay, when you make payments from the business account to estimated, it is an asset. You don't get to claim it over here or any other place. It's an asset because it's going towards a future tax liability. Okay, this is accurate security deposit for the office. That's fine. I always look at the balance sheet because this will tell me, is there going to be any depreciation if there was, furniture and fixtures and things like that, leasehold improvements. When I'm looking at things like that, organizational and startup costs, all those different things tells me, okay, I'm looking for depreciation because we need to post that. Okay. The other thing I'm looking at is this the amount that was paid in sales tax in January for this period? Okay. If it is not, I'm going to want to know why or figure out if, we need to review that. But I'm also confirming that the Amex ties out. Is that the ending balance at the end of the year, 12/31, or the closest statement to it? Okay. So that is what I'm looking at. And if that is true, okay, then, and I am an accrual-based business, then I am ready for tax. This is ready to go to the CPA. But before I do that, I do want to look at this and make sure that things tie out. And when I say things tie out, like for me, when I look at this, okay, and this is usually when I find those of you that set up accounts incorrectly, I'm looking, and again, these are probably a little off, but what I'm looking at these sales income accounts, and I'm comparing them with the cost of sales. So what this is telling me is in order for me to make this 119,000, it cost me about 64,000. Now, is that about right? If that is that about what my markup is? Okay, I'm asking all these questions, and I'm really kind of drilling down on this. Okay, if you're not looking at this to implement change, then you're balancing a checkbook, right? If you're not looking to improve your processes, and everybody can improve, like, are you earning money all the ways that are expected in our industry? If you aren't sure what those are, book a call with me and I'm happy to go over it with you. I see how everybody operates, from the most successful to the not so great, okay, and everything in between. I've seen when people think that their books look one way and in reality it doesn't. Okay, this is really important because this is what you pay tax on. This is what your business is valued at. This is how you insure your practice. This is how you also obtain lending, okay? And I think a lot of people want to run everything under the sun under their business. I don't really have a problem with that if that's what it is. However, we always want to know what the bare bones minimum is. And what I call that, I mean, I say it to stay alive, but it probably sounds better as a break-even number. That break-even number is the basic bare bones minimum we need to keep the lights on, okay? So all that being said, the more that you make up here, the more you can take, okay? And that's really what it boils down to. And what people need to further understand is it's also not about hiding the truth or getting away from the truth. It's showing everything and then claiming everything and using this to leverage to the best situation for what your circumstances are, okay? And it's really hard to determine that when you don't have all the moving pieces. This is one aspect of somebody's life. It's their business. Typically, they have the personal side and they may have other sides after that, okay? A lot of business owners have multiple businesses, okay? And so what you might see on one has nothing to do in conjunction with all the others, okay? But understanding how things flow, especially in your world, is kind of key. Because my thing is, if we're not analyzing this to improve, then again, you probably don't need me. Probably doing fine. You probably don't want to get any bigger, whatever the case may be. I mean, I'm usually in it to win it, okay? And that being said, it's like, how can we improve in all this? Well, the first thing is knowing where the numbers lie. Because if I know that you're pulling in good numbers, I'm going to look at your merchant and other costs, and we can negotiate when there's wiggle room, when we can come in strong and be able to present our case. A lot of things are negotiable, guys, including interest, including merchant processing fees. If I know you're pulling in numbers, I'm going to go to them and say, hey, can we negotiate this? I mean, they want to keep your business. It's their bread and butter too, okay? So we want to analyze things. We want to do things the right way. I mean, I usually will move things around. So if I know that rent, like maybe January might be included in that, you want to back that out and count it in the correct year, or do you, right? On a cash basis business, it's when you incur or when you pay it, okay? And so those of you that write the checks on 12/31 and they don't get mailed till we get back in the office, I mean, it's still dated then, right? Or those fake check runs. But neither here nor there. These books are ready to go once we know that all of this ties out and that it makes sense. I'm analyzing this. I'm cleaning up. I wouldn't probably leave like random little numbers. I never use a miscellaneous account. If you have that, look at it. Office expense, office supplies, what is the difference? Hopefully you've kind of gone over that. And when do you count something? Like, there's usually a threshold of things that I won't classify as an office expense. Like maybe if we bought a laptop, it's not going to office expense. It's going to be up here somewhere in the assets, okay? So there's a lot of different things that you can do to make this, you know, work for you, regardless of whether you're cash basis or accrual. Accrual is the best way to account for this type of practice. you know. And then once this is said and done, like for those of you that are cash basis, let me touch on that. Cash basis basically means that we are doing a journal entry at 12/31, and then when we reverse it. So it's like we put it in and we take it out like it never happened. Okay? That's what we do when we convert this to cash basis for the sake of tax. We're putting in a journal entry on 12/31, and then we're reversing it on 1/1. And what does that look like? Well, you'll probably notice if you've worked in studio and you're not well versed in it, it probably makes you crazy that we can't delete or journal entry out of certain accounts, okay? It's a good thing because I've seen a lot of books screwed up when people can just arbitrarily change, delete, and manipulate anything that they want. Okay, I will make sure to say that Studio did a great job at not having that be the case with their software. Okay, it's a lot of things aren't deletable, and that's rightfully so because you want that audit trail. Okay, when people don't want to see all the mistakes or ins and outs and things like that, and cleaning up, there's ways that we can put those away to clean up your dirty laundry. But at the end of the day, it helps because when you guys call with troubleshoot issues, I am backtracking based on what's happening, and it's really hard when people just can delete. I've had issues in other softwares, but anyway, definitely gonna walk over that real quick. So accounts receivable, just like I said before. So AR, because in cash basis, you can't have somebody owing you money because you're not going to recognize it until they pay, until you get the cash, because it's cash basis. So this gets backed out of sales income. Well, there's no plain one here, but that's the journal entry. It would be minus 800 plus 800 over here. The vendor deposits would be negative 4,004.97 and positive cost of sales. Okay, these would stay, and then I would want to make sure that the CPA or tax preparer like I would double check this to make sure that there's nothing left over from prior years and that everything is estimated. Sometimes payments are made for different reasons and maybe got coded here. So I just double check that before I call that good and final, because if I have to move any of this into this area for taxes or anything else, that's going to change this. So you got to be mindful of changing things, okay? I see that happen a lot where we send the CPA the financials for tax, and then something happens and people clean up or change things and continue to work, and that changes the numbers. Well, again, we've already submitted it for tax. So the CPA is working off of that. They're not coming in and logging into our system every day and checking if we've changed anything. They're going and working off of the reports that we've given them. Okay, so it's important to know that once we've given things to the tax preparer or CPA, that's it. We're not to touch the prior year until we get that tax return back. Okay, so and it is all of our duty to make sure that that's in fact happening. Okay, I've seen where books are completely different and nobody knows what happened, or people didn't save the reports because they figured we could just log back in and get them. Okay, be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. So again, this is ready for tax if all of that ties out. Now, if I was turning this to cash basis, like I said, I'd take the AR, vendor deposits, accounts payable, and client deposits, and that is going to be part of my journal entry. And so my cash basis profitability would be different. Okay, but because I'm an accrual, this is what it is, and this is ready for tax. Okay, and then we continue on. So now we're working in 2023 as we're waiting for this tax return to be done. That we shouldn't have to touch 2022. We've already filed 1099s for the applicable vendors. Okay, if you're not filing 1099s, know that that rule is going to get stricter and stricter. Okay, and who gets a 1099? Anybody that you've paid out of your checking account during the calendar year upwards of $600 or more. That means your landlord. That means anybody that you're not anybody that you've paid out of this account, depending on what it is, okay? I have a handout for that as well, and it's also available on the IRS website, and those are due every year. Okay, that's how small some of your smaller vendors or businesses get to use their 1099s from you on their business returns. Okay, just like if you received any, we're going to want to submit those to the CPA along with these financials. I submit this, payroll tax returns. They usually don't ask for sales tax returns, but and I furnish, what else do the balance sheet and income statement, any 1099s we've received from clients or vendors or anybody else that has paid us, and then the 1099s that we've filed. Okay, those all accompany everything, and they get going on the tax return. Okay, so all these numbers need to make sense. If they do not, book a call. That is probably the biggest takeaway from working with me, is the basic knowledge, okay? And this you could apply to anything. You could apply it to your personal life. You could apply it to this business and any other business that you might enter into, your personal, any aspect of your life, okay? So it's good to just have the basics covered, okay? That's about it. I look forward to your feedback. I will continue to put out additional videos. I am going to cover bank recs and maintenance and exactly what I do for a lot of these businesses and what I want to be passing along in my mentorship courses. So like, post, subscribe, please comment and give me feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. I am listening. I reply to each and every one of those emails, and it is taking longer for me to reply, so bear with me, but I will get back to you all. And I do have an upcoming webinar for Studio Designer regarding conversions into Studio Designer. Okay, so stay tuned, and thank you so much.